Hello and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre, the weekend edition. I'm Vedant Agarwal. Well, our big focus on the show this evening. In his Dussehra address, the RSS chief seems to have set the BJP's poll agenda for the crucial Maharashtra elections. Reiterating what the Prime Minister said just days ago in Mumbai, well, Mohan Bhagwat has called for Hindu unity, positioning the saffron fold in clear opposition to the India bloc's caste census pitch. With Hindutva back in the focus as the BJP's core ideology and the pitch for consolidation of all castes under one Hindu umbrella, the party is back to appealing to its principal vote bank. This, as a chorus for the caste census grows within the opposition camp. On Left, Right and Centre tonight, we ask, with the return of the Hindutva politics, can the pitch for a cohesive Hindu bloc dent the opposition's caste card? Before I introduce my panel this evening, let's quickly take a look at what Mohan Bhagwat in fact had to say and the Congress's chief's reaction. Well, the Congress says that the RSS supports a party that believes in disunity.
आवश्यकता है मदद की विश्व भर के हिंदुओं की भारत के सरकार की सहायता उनको मिले ये उनकी आवश्यकता है कि दुर्बल रहना अपराध है हम अगर दुर्बल है असंगठित है तो उसका मतलब हम अत्याचार को निमंत्रण दे रहे हैं निमित्त कुछ नहीं चाहिए हम दुर्बल है ये निमित्त पर्याप्त है और इसलिए जहां कहीं भी हम हैं वहां संगठित रहना सशक्त रहना
ये करने वाले ही बांट रहे ना जो लोग देश में यूनिटी चाहते हैं वो पार्टी जो डिसयूनिटी चाहती है उस पार्टी को सपोर्ट करने वाले आप ही हैं भागवत जी ही हैं पहले कहां से शुरू करें संविधान बदलने से शुरू करें रिजर्वेशन निकालने से शुरू करें हिंदू मुसलमानों के बारे में अलग अलग बात की
Let me introduce my panel this evening. Mr. Anupam of the Congress is with me in studio. Anish Gawande, national spokesperson of the NCP, is also with us. Also, Sanjay Gupta, leader of the Shiv Sena UBT, is with us. Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, and Praful Ketkar, editor of Organizer Weekly. Thanks all very much for being with us. Tuhin Sinha, let me begin with you, in fact. What the Congress chief said was interesting. While, of course, you talk about this sort of social engineering, this unity pitch, where is the unity, many would say? Because you are also doing exactly the same thing. I mean, the consolidation of the non-dominant castes seems to be the BJP's playbook. I mean, that's what we saw play out in Haryana as well. So where is this unity that, the Prime Minister spoke
good evening,
of
Vedant. Good evening.
several days ago, and the RSS chief also echoed that sentiment?
Good evening, Vedant. Good evening, everybody. A very happy Dussehra to all of you. You know, the RSS point of view has always been very clear. From the time of its inception in 1925, it has believed that a Sanghathit Hindu Samaj is the key to a Sanghathit Indian society. And it believes that the onus, the primary onus for setting the nation's agenda lies upon the Hindu society. So that's precisely what Adarniya Mohan Bhagwat echoed today. When it comes to unity, I don't know what figures you were mentioning from Haryana, because, I think Haryana is a typical example of a complete rejection of Congress party. Even the core Jat votes, which Congress had been banking upon, did not go in entirety to it. But that does not mean that we played any form of a divisive card. In fact, en masse, we have got votes from all sections of society. How else would, after being in power for 10 years, our vote share go up by a good 4% and the seats by 15 seats? So I don't think we have any way been divisive in our approach. Rather, we have always believed in unity. And, in this aspect, what RSS thinks and what we think is fairly similar. We too believe that a consolidated united Hindu Samaj is essential for the future of the country. And, he also spoke about many other things, ultra-wokeism.
But Tuhin, before I bring in the Congress spokesperson to respond to that, this sort of very overt appeal to, Hindutva, as it were, particularly after what the Prime Minister said during the Lok Sabha campaign as well, which was seen by many as a communal remark. Would you say that this is an appeal, in a sense, to consolidate what has been your principal vote bank? Because many have pointed out that the BJP's arc has expanded, but you're now returning to your principal vote bank.
No, BJP has always been consistent in its approach. If it was not emphasized enough during Lok Sabha elections, maybe it lost in the clutter of many different issues that were there, primarily developmental issues. But this has always been, cultural nationalism has always been a forte. But if you just look, if you just look at some of the other things which Mohan Bhagwat said, whether it is, against wokeism, whether it is against cultural Marxism, or whether it is something as beautiful as, the Valmiki Parv going beyond the Valmiki Bastis and being celebrated by all Hindus. I don't think why Congress should have any problem with these things. The Congress today is fundamentally, by showing its aversion, by showing its hatred for RSS, it shows its hatred for nation building.
Let me get Anupam to respond to that, because before we come to the caste consolidation aspect and whether that will sort of yield political dividends, because that hasn't been the case in Haryana, but what the point that Tuhin is making about this sort of the politics of appeasement, which has been long discussed, and that has been a charge against your party, and this sort of pussyfooting around issues, as many would say, as Tuhin is also pointing out. How do you respond to that?
So, Vedanta, first of all, a very happy Vijay Dashmi to you and all your and everyone on the panel. So, the topic of discussion today is the statement made by Mr. Bhagwat on Hindu unity. And in fact, Vedanta, I don't think there is a question of a debate on this issue. I don't see any opposition to. Of course, there should be Hindu unity. Of course, we should all remain united. Of course, there should be Sikh unity. There should be Muslim unity. Biharis should be united. Gujaratis should be united. Everyone in my village should remain united. There is no problem at all in someone remaining united. The question here is, united for what? Is it to preserve our pluralism, our diversity? Is it to safeguard the idea of India? Or is there an undertone as to united to have a fight with someone? That is the real question. There is no debate, no contradiction in Hindus being united and having a caste census. There is no contradiction at all.
No, but many would say that by calling for a caste census, you are essentially not looking at a united Hindu Samaj, as it were, because as the Prime Minister has also pointed out, that you don't talk about, say, the Shias or the Sunnis or the various sects within the Muslims, and why sort of this emphasis on enumerating on the basis of caste?
This is Vedanta, a factually wrong understanding. So even in the caste census, of Bihar, you see, there is caste enumeration, in fact, among Muslims.
Yes.
So there is no question of talking of caste only in the Hindu community. And as far as the official formal position of BJP goes, you should ask the BJP spokesperson, are they against caste census or are they for caste census? In case, if they are for caste census, then there is no debate at all. It is good, very welcome. They are on our agenda. We want caste census in the country, and I hope RSS as well as the BJP is also on that same line. There is no question of a debate. As far as unity is concerned, we are for Hindu unity.
Your quick response to that, and then I'll bring in my other guests. Yes.
Well, not only the BJP, even the RSS has made its stand on the caste census very clear. We don't believe there should be any politics over it. In principle, we are in favor of it, but we are against the Congress chicanery on the issue. We are against the Congress deceptiveness on the issue. When they do a caste census in Chhattisgarh or Karnataka, but don't have the moral courage to make it public, that shows that they have basically fudged data. You need to remember that in the 2011 caste survey, there were 8.19 crore errors, and 1.5 crore out of those errors still remain unaddressed. That is one of the reasons why caste census have been delayed. But in principle, we have never opposed it. I think the Congress should know this.
You are not opposing caste census.
So Tuhin's point essentially is that it's only for logistical reasons, perhaps administrative reasons, why caste census is being delayed. And in principle,
there is no in principle opposition. It's a very welcome thing.
I want
this official position of the BJP spokesperson.
The entire argument, Tuhin, that the Congress is opposed to Hindu unity sort of stems from the idea that you are opposing a caste census. Anyway, let me also bring in Anish Gawande of the NCP, who is joining us at this point as well. Anish, how do you look at this entire caste conundrum and the issue of identity, which certainly has taken center stage when it comes to Maharashtra? I mean, what we saw in Haryana, many have drawn very many parallels between Haryana and Maharashtra as well in terms of the caste arithmetic, in terms of the issue of identity. We of course have seen the Maratha quota reservation issue is far from over, but many could also say that the non-Marathas may rally behind the BJP like the non-Jats did in Haryana.
Vedant, firstly, thank you for having me on your show. It's lovely to be here for the first time, and to everyone, a very happy Vijayadashmi. I think the question that was raised by the Congress panelist before me is incredibly important. That is the call for Hindu unity one of inclusion or exclusion. In Maharashtra, you are seeing the sort of BJP on the back foot because it is unable to provide justice to various communities that come under the Hindu fold. For months now, Dhangar communities have been protesting across the state. You in fact had one of their own government ministers, Narhari Zirwal, jump from the assembly in a stunt into a net to sort of protest against the lack of Dhangar reservation. And this Dhangar community is the same one that Ahilyabai Holkar belongs to, who Mohan Bhagwat ji referred to several times over his speech today, and whose 300th birth anniversary it is today. So when this call for Hindu unity arises, is it only a smokescreen? Is Hindu-Muslim sort of is the Hindu-Muslim debate only remembered when the BJP has no other issues to talk about? Is this sort of call for Hindu unity one that washes over their track record on inflation, corruption, and unemployment? These are the difficult questions to ask today. And when you ask about non-Maratha consolidation, let me remind you that the opposition has been consistent that there are 5 communities that need justice in Maharashtra today. Dhangar, Muslim, Maratha, Lingayat, and Bhatkya NDTV. So we have consistently been raising this question of unity, of justice for various communities, but there's only been a smokescreen offered in response.
I think there needs to be
a real answer.
Yes. Tuhin Sinha, come in on this point because these are fair points. If you look at what happened in the Lok Sabha polls as well, the Prime Minister made that rather distasteful Mangal Sutra remark multiple times over in the Hindi heartland, and it clearly backfired. Many would say that, the people of, courts, the states that have been extremely critical to the BJP, whether it's Uttar Pradesh or Maharashtra, have rejected this idea of a sort of Hindu unity, and Hindu unity for what really? I mean, if the BJP pitching itself as a sort of a party of the Hindus against, perhaps so-called secular forces, this idea has been rejected by the electorate, many would say.
First, just to correct you, the Prime Minister made the reference only once, and that too when on umpteen occasions Rahul Gandhi would call for an X-ray of wealth. So,
that remark was made twice at least, I remember.
Just to ask him for, that was used as an analogy basically to make Rahul Gandhi explain what he really meant by a wealth X-ray. But anyway, there are other speakers also. I'll just make a brief point. We only have a problem with the caste obsessiveness of Rahul Gandhi, where he does not even spare the Agniveer scheme. And he makes absurd remarks like, the officers would be made, people from higher caste would be made officers, and those from the lower caste would be made Agniveers. And he was reprimanded by the Election Commission because these were made right in the middle of elections. We have a problem with him, desperately trying to divide Miss India contestants with his caste obsessiveness. And if we go ahead with such a logic, tomorrow you will be expected to, find out the caste of your friend, a potential friend, before accepting him as your friend. And this is what divides the Hindu society. We have a problem with this madness, this obsessiveness. But I repeat, we have never opposed a caste survey for healthy reasons.
I think I'll get the Congress spokesperson to respond to that. But Sanjay Gupta is also with us, leader of the Shiv Sena UBT. Sanjay ji, एक बात बताइए. कई लोग ये भी कहेंगे कि महाराष्ट्र हो चाहे हिंदी हार्टलैंड की कोई भी पार्टी हो, एक सॉफ्ट हिंदुत्व कार्ड तो सब खेलते हैं. आपकी पार्टी में भी बहुत लोगों का, आपके critics, the naysayers would say that you have also time and again played the soft Hindutva card. In fact, your party, many would say, was a much more hardliner Hindutva party, in the years of its inception and the years that followed, even more so than the BJP.
देखिए, हमारे हिंदुत्व पर सवाल उठाने वाले तो बीजेपी के लोग हैं जिनके साथ अब हमारा गठबंधन नहीं रहा. लेकिन अगर हम मुद्दों की बात करें तो क्या हमने राम मंदिर के मुद्दे को छोड़ा? क्या हमने धारा 370 के मुद्दे को छोड़ा? क्या हमने किसी और कांग्रेस के साथ गठबंधन होने के बावजूद भी क्या हमने वीर सावरकर जी के खिलाफ बोलना शुरू किया? हमने उनका समर्थन ही किया है। और ये बटेंगे तो कटेंगे। और जिस तरह से अभी मोहन भागवत जी ने जो चिंता व्यक्त की है वो बिल्कुल सही चिंता व्यक्त किया, और योगी जी ने भी बिल्कुल सही चिंता व्यक्त किया है। बीजेपी को ये देखने की जरूरत है कि किस तरह से अब वो अपने संगठन को ठीक रखें, क्योंकि जिस तरह से बीजेपी अध्यक्ष जेपी नड्डा जी ने कहा कि अब हमें आरएसएस की जरूरत नहीं है, जिस तरह से बीजेपी में आज योगी जी को साइडलाइन करने की कोशिश की जाती है, तो ये बटना और कटना तो इनको अपनी पार्टी को ठीक करना है। और ये देश तो लोकतांत्रिक है और हिंदू राष्ट्र ही है, क्योंकि इस देश के अंदर लोकतांत्रिक प्रक्रिया है और हिंदू बहुल है हमारे देश के अंदर, और हिंदू ये डिसाइड करते हैं कि किस पॉलिटिकल पार्टी की सरकार रहेगी। तो मौखिक रूप से उस चीज को कहना और ना कहना इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, हमारा देश हिंदू राष्ट्र ही है। और बटने और कटने की चिंता बीजेपी अपनी पार्टी में करे, और हमारे हिंदुत्व पर, अगर हमें हिंदुत्व पर रहना है तो हम हिंदुत्व पे हैं, अगर हम हिंदुत्व पे नहीं रहेंगे तो हम बोल देंगे।
It's factually incorrect to say that we are a Hindu Rashtra, but Anish, I see you are smiling. Would you like to respond to what your ally is saying here?
No, I think the Shiv Sena spokesperson here is very intelligent because he's countering the BJP using the language they understand. See, Vedant, today the BJP is confused.
No, but isn't that the charge,
Maharashtra.
Anish, against you guys as well? That, you also play the soft Hindutva card when, when you fall... Okay, yes, go ahead, yeah.
No, because I think the reality is you saw the Prime Minister had to resort to that Mangal Sutra comment when they did not know how to counter the groundswell of public sort of opinion against them in Maharashtra. Today, the same thing is happening once again. Nitesh Rane is making statements left, right and center in the state. There are BJP sort of members creating this sort of Hindu-Muslim divide. They don't know what else to turn to. And so the only way to answer them is by saying, "Ha, Baba, chalo, karo tum Hindu." Today is Vijayadashmi. There have been like 4 Dussehra rallies today. I'm sure all of you have covered them. What is the narrative of Hindu Khatre mein hai? What is this narrative of cultural Marxist, wokist? These are statements that are being thrown around that people are laughing at. And like the Shiv Sena spokesperson, I think we've also started laughing at them because you can't take them seriously because the voters have rejected them. And now the people of India will reject them as well because it's simply absurd to call for these grand notions of Hindu unity when there's no threat to Hindu unity anywhere. This is an imagined threat for an imagined problem when there are hundreds of real challenges facing this country, facing Maharashtra, that the people of the state have voted for in the Lok Sabha elections and will vote for in the Vidhan Sabha elections.
Tuheen, a quick response to that, and then I get in the...
No, if the opposition is laughing after the Haryana defeat, good luck to them. They don't have a pulse of the people, and that's why they lost Haryana, a state which they were supposed to win. But anyway, I think it is the Congress party which should explain the Uddhav Sena's remark that India is a Hindu Rashtra.
Yes.
The Congress party is fine with it. Why should it go about, with its balkanization attempts?
Anupam, would you like to come in
I'll
on that?
actually
It's rather startling, though, that you had an Uddhav Sena person say that we are a Hindu Rashtra, and the BJP should sort of look at it, putting its own house.
The NCP is flexible; it is fine with anything. So, but I think the Congress should explain
its own house in order before.
I'll make an interesting observation, Vedant. In 2014, when Mr. Modi came to power, riding on various economic promises, 2 crore jobs, black money, economy, clean Ganga, etc., etc. अच्छे दिन उस वक्त ना it wasn't the narrative that Hindu खतरे में है in 2014. In fact, the interesting and ironic part is the more you vote BJP, the more खतरा Hindu comes in. Hindu खतरे में और ज़्यादा हो. And now when we are in 2024. And BJP has been in power at the center for the last 10 years. So the narrative of Hindu khatre mein hai has become
I take your
larger.
point. I take your point that there are larger issues of inflation,
jitna
unemployment
BJP ko vote do,
that we
utna
need to
zyada
look
Hindu
at.
khatre mein
But
aa
very
jata hai.
quickly, before I bring in Praful ji, very quickly, would you agree at the outset with what the Uddhav Sena person said?
Of course not. Of course not. We have an ideological position about the country. It is factually incorrect that India is a Hindu Rashtra. It is a secular country, and Shiv Sena has had a position on this issue, and there is no issue about it.
Okay. Before Sanjay ji, before you respond to that, Praful, quickly, I'm interested in understanding from an expert point of view. Do you see this Hindu unity pitch paying some sort of political dividends in Maharashtra? Because many have sort of drawn these parallels between what happened in Haryana and what could potentially happen in Maharashtra. But the caste politics in Maharashtra is much more intricate and complicated than Haryana. But, you know, at the outset, what do you see? Do you see this sort of Hindu unity pitch first by the Prime Minister in his sort of inaugural poll speech in Maharashtra talking about Hindu unity, then the RSS chief echoing that sentiment on Dussehra? Do you see this paying political dividends?
Vedant, I think besides politicians, the media people are equally responsible for creating caste fissures. You never bothered, Anish, to ask, you are mentioning four caste communities, why are you mentioning Muslim or religious community? Are you talking about Sayyid Muslims or Pasmanda Muslims? So we are equally responsible, and that's why you are making this mistake of limiting Sarsanghchalak Mohan Bhagwat's speech to Maharashtra polls. I would like to see it in larger context. One organization that started in 1925 is entering into its 100th year. And every year, Sarsanghchalak customarily takes a stock of the global situation, the national situation, and what should we do as a society. So if you are seeing it just as a Hindu society in political terms, you are making a big mistake, because there is a larger message for everybody. Every community, every political party. He never even mentioned in this. He started by saying the individual and national character. Then he talked about the global mission. I'm really surprised. Person like Anish Gawande is laughing at the issues of cultural Marxism and wokeism. But these are the real issues that are being talked even in the West. And what he was basically talking, what is the point, have you ever discussed why Mr. Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, going to South India and talking against the North Indians? He's fine, fighting in both the sides. So linguistic, caste-based, isn't it a fact that in last, just a month and a half back, there have been 29 attacks on Ganesh festival procession. Isn't it a fact that in Bangladesh, Hindus have been attacked consistently since 1947, and the numbers have dwindled from 30% to around 7-8%. So he just spoke about the fact. So it is not about what he said that we should be careful. There will be politics, there will be political interest. But beyond that, we should learn to celebrate festivals together. We should go beyond. And he didn't even mention what he said, virtuous strength.
Yes.
Virtuous strength of an organized society is a guarantee for peace and development. What is wrong in this? What is wrong in this?
You are reading it largely as perhaps an apolitical speech.
Problem? No, not just apolitical. Limiting RSS point of view to politics itself is problematic for me, simply because once it was asked to Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, why don't you send your give pracharak to other political parties, and he said
so that's an interesting point of view as well. But Anish, come in on this, because I think the point Prafulji made about social engineering, aren't all parties equally guilty, in sort of relying heavily on this sort of social engineering? I mean, what happened with Baba Siddiqui, of course, we saw he joined Ajit Pawar's NCP. And of course, whether it's ticket distribution, whether it's setting the larger poll narrative, all parties are equally guilty of looking at Hindus, say, as a coalition of castes and Muslim as sort of a religious entity. That is sort of a fundamental mistake, as Prafulji pointed out.
At the very outset, I'd like to say that I take your point, Prafulji, and you're a very senior journalist, and so I take what you say with great sort of consideration. What you've pointed out, Vedant, is the reality of society as it stands today, right? I think in the sort of RSS chief's statement, there was a veiled critique of the government of the day as well. That if you have to see the Vijayadashmi speech as just a sort of cultural one and not a political one, you have to ignore the ground realities that we have just come out of a Lok Sabha election and are heading into a Vidhan Sabha election. So most certainly this was a political speech and has political ramifications. On the question of why these are sort of subcategorizations that get seen with a Hindu identity and don't get seen with a Muslim identity, there's a history to this. There's a sort of series of commissions that have sat on this. to argue for the social and economic backwardness of Muslims that have presented reports to the effect that have been taken into consideration while deciding on things like Muslim reservation. The BJP's own alliance partner, Chandrababu Naidu, has this in his state. So they have such a large problem with our party doing this in Maharashtra, they should ask questions of their own alliance partners. These are longer historical trends. To trivialize them and say, oh, you're doing caste here, but you're not doing religion there, and you're doing Muslim here, but you're doing XYZ here. These are not things that have come up in the last 5 years. These are long-standing demands that have been carefully considered, that have gone through processes of judicial and administrative review, and have come up before a government by citizens. You know, Supriya Dai has always been saying that you need to have a comprehensive overview of all reservations that exist and various demands pending by communities across the country. The reality is that governments have failed to do this.
Prafulji, last 20 seconds to you. I'm afraid I'm completely running out of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, Anish, unfortunately, the same comprehensive review argument was made by Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, and it was interviewed to me. And you completely played it around that RSS wants to take it back. That is, again, the politics apart. You are making a factually wrong statement that there is, again, the reservation to Muslims is for Muslim OBC.
Okay.
It is not a community-based. All religious reservations constitutionally didn't stand in the argument, and therefore the caste-based reservation has been created. So don't make these such arguments. But the point is, Mr. Sharad
there are various ways of looking at it. So I wouldn't say it's a factually wrong statement there. But thanks very much, gentlemen. We'll have to wrap it up there. Given the fact that this is, of course, something it's a complex debate. Of course, caste and identity, they have taken center stage, and they have been at the center stage as far as our election discourse is concerned for years now. That is unfortunately the travesty of Indian elections. But it is certainly going to be interesting to see how this plays out in Maharashtra, whether there's going to be a repeat of what happened in Haryana and Maharashtra. Many would point out there are many differences, but the poll bugle has been sounded in Maharashtra, and it's going to be an interesting few weeks ahead. That's all the time that we have on Left, Right and Centre this evening. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.